I'ma say what I feel, and I promise to keep it real. Welcome to the Rant Room.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Hilliard Guest, and you guys are listening to the Screenwriters Rant Room, where we keep it real, we keep it opinionated, we keep it what, Will? Game all day. Yeah. On this show, we discuss entertainment, TV, film, music, culture, but our focus is always screenwriting, stories, craft, excuse my word, and shit like that. You can curse on this show.
Yeah, because it's a podcast.
Exactly. Super excited for this episode. If you guys are going, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the episode. So today, we got my nephew hanging in with me, Will Barclay, hanging in, filmmaker himself, on the ones and twos. I call the camera the ones and twos, by the way, Paris. You know, we old school like that. Hey, William Barclay, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Indeed.
I really appreciate being the co-host today.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You're doing some good stuff out there, bro. You're doing good stuff. Uncle is super proud of you. You're killing the game right now. You're on the way. You're going to surpass all of us, and that's the key. So today, we got to welcome to the show the OG in the building, the icon himself. Somebody I call a friend, a mentor, somebody I love, Mr. Paris Barclay, director, two-time Emmy-winning, killing the game. Y'all know him. I ain't even got to give him y'all the resume. Y'all know him.
Man, I'm tired already.
Paris Barclay in the building. Welcome to the show.
Well, I am so excited to be here. I was waiting. I said, when is Hilliard going to ask me to be on his podcast? It's like, Cheo's on the podcast, right. Angela Harvey. Right. I mean, it's like, my friends are on the podcast, but where's my invitation? My feelings were starting to get hurt. I was going to write you and say, hey, but then I thought, well, that's beneath me. I should just wait until Hilliard asks me. I'm sure he'll get around to me.
It's been on my brain for a long time. To be 100% honest, I always wait for the right timing for people. So, like, I waited a long time to get Ken Whittingham on the show. I think it took 2 years to get Eric Dean Seaton on the show.
He
just kept,
he is
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he started calling me, going, Hill, give me a month, give me 2 months, you know what I mean? So eventually it worked out. Of course, I've had, Carl Seaton, Bird, I'm about to say Jeff Bird, and a lot of those guys on, Princess, Monique, Darren Grant, like a lot of those
Yeah,
cats.
you've had some good guests.
Yeah. So, I've been at it.
All right. Well, I didn't take it personally.
Oh no, it's all good. But no, super happy to have you here. So I was telling you offline. So some people that I know, the reason why Will is sitting here, the thing that I do differently on my show is I like to have my co-host be somebody that they know. So when I that's why I was trying to get like one of those other directors that you know, so that they could be like, how you mentored them or whatever it is, so they could have their side of the story as well. So knowing that Will is on the come up, doing a lot of great things, I was like, well, let me just call nephew and tell him to come on the show. So, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, for those of you who haven't figured it out, Will is my son.
Yes, he is.
And so I guess I've known you for 21 years.
21 years,
He
yeah.
just had his 21st birthday.
God.
So
That's
currently paying to put him through NYU.
Yes, indeed. He's doing great things.
Doing great.
So I like to start my show off sometimes with people that I know personally. And instead of going through your entire story,
Please don't.
I like to start here. So here's where I'd like to start with you. And I might get teary-eyed doing this, just because it's so passionate to me. Letters from None. So I want to start there. So for those people who don't, the 3 people who aren't familiar with your musical, I want to talk about how you wrote this musical, where it came from for you, and the reason is whenever. All right, I know I'm jumping everywhere. Just want to call it rant. You rant one.
Yeah, you can just rant.
So here's the thing. So Will, when did you guys shoot that little thing?
Just a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
it felt new. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we were doing the music with this Australian producer,
Right.
so Will did it behind the scenes
Right.
of that.
It was beautiful. So Will ended up doing this beautiful behind the scenes thing. Parents sent it to me yesterday. I watched it last night. It still moves me. Yeah, I didn't even hear the entire song, but just the moment.
Those pieces,
it is the most
so good.
powerful musical that I can think of at the top of my head. We have to do this musical. I said we, like I'm producing. Look.
Well, we will do this musical.
Now let's tell people a little bit about this show.
So, before I became a director,
Right.
and throughout my college years, and even in high school, I wanted to write music, especially to write music. I'm really coughing here now.
He's allergic to me, just so you all know.
I don't know why. So, in 1986, I found this book called Dear America, Letters Home from Vietnam.
Right.
And I started reading it in the Colony bookstore. And I was so moved just by the letters, because it's just soldiers' letters written during the Vietnam War.
Right.
It tells a little bit of their story, very well edited. And I thought, this could be a really interesting musical drama, because the letters are written to an audience of just one or two, the people they're particularly writing to, so they're very personal, very emotional.
Right.
And I said, what if we made the viewer, you know, the listener, whoever is going to actually live it, they become the person the letters are being written to, so they have that connection. And I can use the songs to express things that are under those letters, that are sort of the subtext of them.
Right.
So I went home, I started writing, I wrote the very first song like that day.
What was the first song?
The first song was If You're Able, which is the last song
Yeah,
I played. And it's a poem written by a helicopter pilot who lost his life that basically expresses that he was afraid that they would be forgotten. And he wanted people to remember the service that these people made, which is really what the show ends up largely being about. Remember the service of these soldiers, whether you love the war or not. So then, I have to get the rights. I mean, you know, when you're adapting something, you got to know if it's even available or if they'll do it. And I'd had a couple musicals done, so I wasn't like a name. But somehow they said, well, we'll give you a trial thing for $500 or something like that, and put together a reading of it, and we'll come and see it. So I put together the first reading of it. I think it was at the West Best Theater, maybe it was at Soho Rep, I can't remember. And it was just with 7 songs and just the book, which was basically
just like
put together, just totally workshopping it, primarily for the rights people. And even then, it was incredibly powerful, because it's unlike a lot of theater pieces, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's basically they're talking directly to you. Sometimes they refer to each other, but by and large, it's, you know, they're talking through their letters to you. And so I kept developing it, and I never let it go. And after I became a director, a very busy director, it sort of sat on the shelf for a while. But then in 2001, we did the premiere production of it, which was at the North Shore Music Theater in Boston, which is a huge in-the-round theater. And Maureen McGovern, famous for There's Got to Be a Morning After, played the mother, because I had created a character that would be the mother of one of the soldiers. And it was...
She was a perfect through line, too.
She carried it through. So there were 6 soldiers and Maureen McGovern, and it was incredibly emotional. The production was really well done. Harold Wheeler did the orchestrations. Those of you who don't know Harold Wheeler, he's the premier black orchestrator of Broadway. He did Dreamgirls, he did bits of a chorus line. He is a genius. He is actually, this is a side note, playing the keyboards when Billy Preston did his first Saturday Night Live presentation, which I learned from the Billy Preston movie.
That's right. We got to talk about that later.
Yeah, he's actually accompanied so many people, and was also an extremely, incredibly nice man.
Right.
So we did this production. It opened on September 9th of 2001. And then on September 11th, it was a different show, because while the soldiers refract different points of view about America and about fighting for America and about dealing with this, you know, very shadowy, you know, to their eyes, villainous Viet Cong, it suddenly was all put through the prism of what happened on September 11th, and people were angry.
Right.
So when the conscientious objecting medic was getting applause on September 9th, now the gung-ho Southern kill him right now was suddenly the lead of the play. Right. So it's really interesting how the audience's reactions and what's going on in the world affects how people perceive the play and how they applaud for different characters. So it then was produced in Seattle, it was produced in Washington, it was produced in, you know, little theaters in Pennsylvania. It kept being done, but it basically ended up being dormant in the 2000s. So here I am back in, what year is it now? 2025. And
what made you go now?
Well, it's actually a couple of years ago, actually, Brian Yorkie, who had been the dramaturg when the show was done in Seattle. He just worked at this theater as a dramaturg. later on he would go on to write Next to Normal. He would
Okay.
win the Pulitzer Prize. He would create the show 13 Reasons Why.
Right,
He
right.
would have a big deal with Netflix, and he would become Brian Yorkie auteur. So he remembered it, and he said, I think we could do this for television. I think we have to make the music more contemporary because it was originally written in the 80s. We have to bring it up to date, but also keep the 60s feeling. And so we started doing that. In the past 2 years, we've been retooling the music in Australia and rewriting the book a little bit. And we've come up with a conceit for how the thing will work in the movies. I can't tell you that yet. We're just getting ready to pitch it. We'll pitch it in the fall, and we'll see who bites. Who wants to do a dramatic, emotional movie in Vietnam?
It's so funny because I literally was thinking probably a month or two ago about the musical.
Wow.
So, because I used to have, Christopher gave it to me
A
when you
CD
made
of
it-
it? Like when we had CDs?
when you had the CD. So of course I don't have CDs anymore, so I haven't heard it in years. But it is still one that I think about a lot for some reason.
I still get letters and just people were so touched by it, especially
Right.
the veterans and
Right.
especially some of the letter writers, the
Okay.
people who actually, were, there and actually wrote letters.
Right.
And they recognize the acknowledgement of their service that was really at the heart of the show.
So literally a month or two ago, I was thinking, what could you do with that show? I love that you guys have a new take. And I was going, now I don't know it as well as you, so I was just thinking off the top of my head. And I was like, is there a world where you bring it into today and it's somebody looking back on the show, on that time, but it's not Vietnam, and maybe it's like Afghanistan or something more current. So then stories are so, but it's the emails or whatever, just to bring it into
Yeah.
today. And I was like, is there a world with that? And then when you showed me the thing yesterday, I was like, they're working on something new. Yes, I was all excited about it. It was just fascinating.
I've always been committed to not changing the soldiers'
Sure,
words,
sure,
though.
sure.
And Brian, I thought when Brian came in and said he's, an established writer, he's
Right.
won Pulitzer Prize. Fuck. So I said, well, we're gonna rewrite this, right? We're gonna make these characters, do this and do that and change it. He said, I don't think so. It's the way that you wrote it was 95%
Pretty
their
perfect.
words
Yeah.
written during that time. And I think
Right.
we should really honor that. But what we are doing is we're gearing it, we're now sort of to ourselves calling it Vietnam for the TikTok generation. We're creating it in a way that the people who have no idea of
Right.
Vietnam, and they are our audience,
Mhm.
they have no idea of the service of
That's
those
smart.
men there, they have no idea of the patriotism of those men there.
Okay.
And I kind of am really keen on just doing something that kind of ignites the idea that all these people were disparate and they become friends, oop, I hit the mic, but they actually are joined by the fact that they love this country.
Mm.
And
So that brings
I think
it into today.
that's what brings it in today
Okay,
in the
I like it.
divisive world we
Right,
have, because in the end, the two most at odds characters come together and recognize that what they share is that they love America.
I like it.
That's what keeps them together.
Right.
And I think that's the story that needs to be told.
Right. I love it. That's good. You got anything, Will? You want to jump in? What was your experience like, watching them and documenting them?
It was really amazing. I have never heard the songs before.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
there hasn't been a performance. I think the last time it was performed live was 2008. He would have been 4.
Is that the one Leslie was in?
That's the one we did. No, that was at Carnegie Mellon.
Okay.
This was at Brentwood when we did it just for to make some money for the veterans organization. So that's you would have been too young for that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah, the voices that I heard, Andy, his voice is really amazing.
Yeah.
Andy
The new
Mack
kid,
is
the new kid is great.
well, you mean Andy the singer or Andy Mack the
Both.
arranger?
Oh, very good.
Andy Mack, what I did was I went to the people behind the music of Glee, which is now the largest selling
Right.
artist, of all
Right.
time,
Mhm.
beating Elvis Presley.
Right.
And through them, I got to Andy Mack, who's this Australian arranger, composer, singer, and he's putting it all together. So what Will actually got to witness was how line by line he creates a song, which is the artist doesn't just come and sing the song. With Andy, he only does a line at a time. He gets the line perfect and he moves on.
That's what Dr. Dre does.
Yeah, it's very, very deliberate.
Interesting.
Everything has to be done. And then with all the different versions of the line he's got, he will then go over it all and then decide what he wants to actually build.
Okay.
So then he builds the vocal from all of that stuff. It's really
It's
interesting.
really
Yeah, it was really powerful, and I was complimenting even just the way you shot it, and it looked. I mean, you could have expanded on it. I would have watched 2 hours of that easily.
That was just one
Yeah.
day. I mean, he was
Yeah.
there really for just a few hours and recorded. You know, he caught those moments of when you find something and you try it and you think it's right, but it's not, so you reject it and you go back to something else.
Right.
It's like, it really is that creative process actually in video.
Right. So my show, I have all different types of people who listen to the show, all over the world, and it's still growing. Whenever I have somebody like you on, like I had Ken and Eric and a bunch of other guys, I like to talk about, because a lot of people want to become directors in television and feature films. So let's talk to those people right now. So let's start with, so here's something I posed to Ken and I'm curious about with you. We're at a time where years ago you could have said, hey Hill, you know, come with me, I'm going to go shoot City of Angels, you want to go shadow me? And I could have came. Now, the rules are different.
Yeah.
What can the writers do now to
Yeah.
shadow? It's probably hard to get real shadow, you know what I mean?
It's very difficult
Yeah.
to shadow now. Well, what I've been advising people who reach out to me, because everything is different now, there's a whole contraction in the media, and I know that's been a theme that's been coming out. So since they're making less and less shit, and I use that word advisedly, there's less and less jobs, so there's less and less opportunities. And then they don't really want necessarily the new voice anymore.
Sure.
They say they do, yeah, emerging director, I need new people, but they don't really, because they're too insecure,
Right.
these studios. They want someone who's tried and true, who will make sure that their millions of dollars are taken care of.
Right.
And so it's a really hard time to break in new.
Right.
So I'll tell what I told William, I said, the thing I would do if I were starting out now is make a lot of films.
Mhm.
Just like you did, I would just make short films.
Right.
And I would definitely read the book How Not to Make a Short Film by the Sundance filmmakers. It's
Yes.
a great book.
Right.
Just as a starting point, because a lot of people think a short film is whatever they can do, this nice little story, but it's not.
Right.
It's got to be so original and arresting or funny or horrific that when I get it, have to take it to someone else.
Right.
It has to be that good. And it doesn't have to be that produced to be that good. Remember, what was the one I sent you? The short film, what was that? Tell about that one.
So it was about this couple going into, or meeting another couple for dinner. And I don't want to spoil it.
You can spoil it.
We don't know what it is yet.
So it turns out that the other couple's boyfriend is actually dead.
But he's sitting there
And
at the
he's
table.
sitting there.
Oh, we revealed that later.
Yeah, when
Oh,
they
that's a
arrive
good twist.
to go to the dinner.
Okay,
And she's still dealing with him as if
Right.
he's not dead.
yeah.
And the other couple is originally appalled, but over the 10 minutes,
They get comfortable.
they get comfortable
Really?
with the fact that
That's
her
different.
boyfriend
Okay,
is
you gotta
dead.
send that to me. That's actually
So, but it all takes place really in one room. I think she goes to the bedroom to get her shoes at one point. But generally, it's all in one room. It's an original idea. It was funny. It made you laugh. It was well acted. It was well lit. They had all the shots. The dead guy was great. He didn't move. He had makeup on. He was just dead through the whole thing. I said, now that's a tough part.
top part.
And I just thought this is a great example, not to tell that story,
Sure.
but someone decided that they were going to spend their money very wisely, do
Contain.
something that we would talk about,
Right.
that's
Right.
memorable, and that is a great calling card. So you have to do that. Now you got social media though, and now you can start putting things out there.
Right.
So you make all the short films, and then you're going to have one great one, and you start getting them out there, and you start making a name for yourself. Whether you start with your own YouTube channel or whatever, that's the way I would go. I mean, I started out doing music videos. That was sort of my calling card.
Right.
But now the equivalent, if I was starting today, is I would just create a short film channel, and without dealing with really expensive big crews, all that stuff, shooting on film, we don't have to do that.
Right.
Get your phone out. It's all about the idea.
For sure.
That's why writers, I think, have a little heads up, and someone who just wants to direct and is not a writer, they got to find a writer.
Well, you said something earlier about like the climate we're in right now.
Yeah.
Where there's 2-3 years ago before the strike, there was literally 500-600 shows. Now it's down to like less than 300 or whatever.
Yeah,
You
something
probably
like
know better
that.
than I
Yeah.
do. And so it seems like where we're going now, I've stayed, and I don't know, we haven't talked about this in a while. I've stayed on the outside of the network side for years, and it was by choice. It was because after the strike in 2008, I was out there picketing, and I was like, I don't want to wait for Hollywood anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to be my own boss.
The smartest
You
thing
know,
I've
and
done.
here I am 34 projects in now. Now I'm doing feature films and pilots and stuff, right? And I mean, it's not easy. I have no regular income coming in. It just boom, something comes like, ooh, I got a little money right now.
Right.
I'm paying for everything.
Yeah.
And then 6 months, I ain't paying for that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. You have to go back and forth.
Exactly. But we are in a place right now, it seems, and Ken and I were talking about this as well, that it feels like the independent world is actually where it might be, for features in particular,
Oh, yeah.
is where it's going. So I'm actually, like my new movie Mermaid that I have, like it's like, everybody's like, I'm getting sales people hitting me left and right wanting to sell the thing. Horrible contracts. Horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're awful. They're awful.
I'm
I'm
sure.
like, no, we're gonna try to hit Sundance and stuff and see what we do first. You know what I mean? Do you agree that you think the indie world is a better?
Yeah, I think
place
the indie world and basically YouTube is where
Right.
you have to go now.
Right.
You can't expect to go and be doing a network series right now. You have to create your own series, however you devise it,
Right.
and you have to put it out there, or you have to do things independently at a lower cost,
Yeah.
because they're just not having it. If work contracts, what it is, and if they start going to only the experts, as I call them, then your opportunities to break in are getting more and more, difficult.
Yes.
So what's growing? And what's growing is YouTube. YouTube is bigger than Netflix.
Huge.
Bigger. It's
Yeah.
so there's a reach there. You can
Right.
get to people in a way that Netflix even can't, because it's constrained. So I would start building all my momentum there.
I totally agree. What do you think, Will?
I feel like YouTube is the next step.
I mean, do you watch? You don't watch Netflix. You watch YouTube.
I watch YouTube more.
You watch clips.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
watch
what it is?
clips, yeah.
Okay.
And it's easier to get your like short film and your like ideas out there on YouTube
For
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can also get people to see it. You can send a link. You can promote it on Instagram or whatever you're on, Snapchat, whatever you have.
Right.
You can do that thing. I think it's the more democratic way to go, and especially if you're a minority
Yes.
right now, where you already have that to deal with, where
Right.
people aren't just going to want to work with you because they think you're going to do something ghetto.
For sure.
So you have that. So just show yourself, show the kind of stories you want to talk about,
Right.
and put them out there.
I think I'm always telling filmmakers about one of the advantages that I had, what got me through like the first 12 projects that I did, was at the time, Scott, my husband, was the president of the neighborhood council in Hollywood. So that meant every single person who had a restaurant, a hotel, a building, an apartment, like he knew the owners,
Oh,
and it
that's
seemed like
interesting.
everybody, because he's a realtor. So he like positioned himself to be in a place where he would know these people who were selling things or whatever, right? So my first film, I think we ever talked about this. So my first film I ever did was this little film called Troublesome. And me and Dwayne wrote a pilot, Dwayne Barnes, about his life back at home. It's called Stranded. And I wrote this whole little sequence where his character and the therapist were stuck on a subway train. So what happened was, it was during the time when Kanye West took the mic from Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And I just had an epiphany. I was literally thinking about it, and I went, what if, and it was a rumor, is Kanye gay? I remember that, right? And I was like, what if it was about a therapy? Because somebody convinced me to take that little sequence and turn it into like a proof of concept, a short or something. And I went, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. So I went, well, what if it was about a therapist and his client stuck on a subway train, and it becomes a therapy session gone wrong? And it's about a hip-hop rapper, like a Kanye type of character, who reveals he's gay. But he doesn't say he's gay. He says, paparazzi caught me with my pants down with another man. And that's how we know what his problem was, right? And so we made this film. So this is about, the thing that I always teach people is resources. So we go to scout the subway train. And it's on like a 35-foot bed. And it's got just the car.
I think I've shot that.
Right, you probably have used those before. And you have to take it to wherever it is. You need the, get the hitch and all that stuff. So what we did was, I get on the train and I bring my friend Michael, who's a producer, and we're on there and we're scouting, trying to figure out how we make this thing work. And I went, what are those indentions? Now I grew up in the Bay, even when I lived in the city, I hardly ever took the metro or the BART or any of that. I did, but not, I don't like the public transit. I'd rather walk back then, right? So I was like, what is that? He's from New York. He's like, oh, that's where they have like the Coke ads and all that stuff. And I went, if I put together a book, brought my 2 actors in, so I brought Kareem Grimes in just to play the lead, and Gordon Thompson, you remember him? From, he played Adam Carrington in Dynasty. So he's French, so I brought in my resources that you know. He has kind of a face, right? And I rehearsed with him because I come from theater. So we did our thing, and I brought them back. I said, oh, we need to scatter it again. I brought my still photographer in. We did photos of them, and I angled them in ways so you kept seeing the intentions of where the ads could be. And I took those photos and put it in a book and walked around to all these different restaurants that my husband knew, the owners to, and said, hey, imagine if we had this. Here's $5,000. Here's $6,000. Here's $3,000. Well, I don't have money, but you can have all that water over there, right? I don't have money, but I'll pay for all the catering, like stuff like that. Like $40,000 worth of just production value, right? Because I use the resources. So now that's what I teach people to do is you say, well, I don't know anybody, but you go to the same cafe every day, you know the manager, nobody's there on the weekend, and you never thought, I could write something here and go, hey, can we just come on the weekend and use the resources? So that's what I teach all the time.
That's good. That's really smart. That's good. I need to know that.
It's scrambling.
Scrambling.
Indeed. So I have a couple of things I want to bring up to you.
I can't wait.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier you started in music videos. How did that start for you?
I was an advertising copywriter. I mean, I started as a writer, and that's really what I wanted to focus on. And I'd even sold a pilot in like the 80s to CBS that I had written. So I was like, I was going to focus on the writing, even though I was also doing my musical stuff. And a friend of mine named Joel Hinman had a music video company called Scorched Earth. And they were doing very well. They had a couple great directors. They had Adam Bernstein. He had just done Love Shack, Baby Love Shack. So that was huge on MTV. Like you couldn't get away from that, which was the film debut of RuPaul, by the way.
That's right.
Anyway, so he said, why don't I take you and you become a director? I had directed like one thing, a TV commercial, like for the agency. Said, and we will create a company that will give opportunities to minorities, because right now most minorities were not involved in the behind-the-scenes work on music videos. I mean, not only were there very few black directors, there was like nobody black on the crew. Right. And I had seen it in my commercial life, there's nobody black working on a commercial, not even craft services. So I said, what the? It's like ridiculous. So I sparked this idea, and he had a company, so I thought we're going to be a huge success. Right. I'm going to be this black director. I love music. I'll do music videos, not too hard. So I left my $100,000 a year creative supervisor job to work for no money, everything on spec for this company we called Black and White Television. And Jeff Berg will remember because he was there. You know, he was there. Abdul Abbott. Jeff Berg. He was actually in Around the Way Girl, which is a classic clip because he was a PA on that and those productions. So he was there at that time. So we didn't do any business for 6 months. We didn't do any business at all. I mean, part of it was because I was drinking and coking so much. I would probably get a terrible interview. But also, it's just like, if you don't have a reel, how do you get a job?
I gotta interrupt you. I love that you say that. That endears you.
What endears you?
Here's why. Here's why I think it endears you. Because, and this is what my show really, what I usually get. We cry on my show like once a month. Like we get to the point because somebody tells their truth. That's what I meant. Your truth.
Well,
you know what I mean?
the truth.
To me, it makes you enduring. You said it's scary. I don't want people to know, but you're like, this is who I am. You know,
that's the story. I was part of my own, not downfall, but why I couldn't get a job was because I was such a mess. And Joel knew this too, so he recommended I go to rehab. I did go to rehab, and when I came out, just a little while later, I got a couple music videos. I got a video for Kid and Play. I got a video for Kwame, the boy genius.
I love Kwame.
I love Kwame.
Yes.
And
Everybody was in the polka dots when they were
exactly. I did You Got to Get Down.
Yes,
It was fun.
That's it.
And then, what was it? Adam Bernstein couldn't do an LL Cool J video. And so he recommended me to do the video. So I met with Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen and that crew
Is that the Big Old
that was
Butt
doing
one?
it. That was Big Old Butt.
Yes.
And I got the job to do Big Old Butt, which was my first video with Todd. And then he became our biggest client. Then we did all of his videos for a couple of years. We did Jingling Baby, we did Around the Way Girl, and then eventually we did Mom Said Knock You Out, which was huge. Not a huge record.
You won like awards for that one, right?
Yeah, we won Billboard Best Rap, and we won MTV Music Awards, and he won the Grammy. So he won the Grammy for the music video, which I thought was pretty interesting. But anyway, and he did have a lot to do with the idea of it, so I guess that's okay. But that video then brought me to the attention of a lot of people. Including John Wells.
Because it told a story. You could see
told
you
a
could,
story.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had put together a reel of videos that told a story, including a Bob Dylan video that told a story, a Was Not Was video that told a story. I had New Kids on the Block. I had this reel, but they were all stories. And that's what I was doing. I was using the record company's money to make my reel. Don't try that at home. Don't try that at home.
Try that at home. Try it at home.
But doesn't always work unless you connect to the right person. And my manager then, at the time, Steve Lovett, who is still my manager to this day.
Shout out to Steve.
Got the reel to John Wells. And John Wells liked the storytelling and hired me to direct his show, Angel Street, which was the first show he was the executive producer of. And it was a bad cop show.
I said they got like 1 season, 2 seasons.
It lasted 6 episodes.
Oh my God.
Starring Robin Givens and Pam Gidley, and they fought all the time. It was very difficult. And it was shot in Chicago. But the great conceit of it, which is so prescient, was every scene was to be shot in one shot. If possible, you're supposed to choreograph the scene so it could be done in one shot.
So you guys are adolescents. Wait a minute.
Yeah, which is what everybody's doing now. But we didn't do the whole show, but every scene was to be in one shot. And because I've been in the theater, and because I, convinced him for my music video, I knew how to move the camera. John gave me an opportunity to do it. I did 1 episode, I survived, we finished it, and then the show was canceled, and John said, hey, we got 1 more episode to shoot after the show is canceled. Can you go back to Chicago? It's never good, Will, to do an episode of television after the show's been canceled. Especially if your stars don't like each other and can't wait to get out of there. So I went back to Chicago and I did that last episode of it. And he said that was great, and I'm forever in your debt. And little did I know, and this is why you have to be nice to everyone, and this is why you have to do your best on even jobs that you think are terrible. The next show he would do would be ER.
With a little show.
Yeah, the next show that he wrote and executive produced was ER, which was a juggernaut. And for those of you who are too young to know, this show was so big, not just because George Clooney was on it, but because on Thursday night, like 60 million people would watch it at the same time. It's not like today where, did you see Adolescents? Oh yeah, I'm going to stream over the weekend. No. Everyone sat down on Thursday night and watched everything actually on NBC on Thursday night. But ER was ginormous. So that opportunity made me just suddenly a director everyone wanted to find out about. Because I did ER. It's the biggest show on television. So that got me to NYPD Blue, and then my career just took off from there.
And you've done. Are you past 200 episodes now?
I'm at 194.
Right there. Wow. It's funny because Ken Whittingham said he's like at 350 or so, but he does half hours. So
when you do half hours, you can do
easier.
a lot more because it's only 1 week.
You are another person. So I said this to Ken the other day, and I'm gonna say this to you. One of the things I love about when you look at IMDb's and you see specifically directors in particular, you have so many credits, but you, just like Ken, are one of the few directors where I don't just see like one episode. There's a lot of 3, 7, 12, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unless the show got canceled, I tended to come back.
For sure.
So that's because, and this is something that writers, I think, understand better than directors do. The role of the director in television is misconstrued. A lot of directors come in and think, I gotta leave my stamp on this show. This show needs me to bring it something fresh and exciting, and that's what I'm gonna do. Well, the problem is they don't really want something fresh and exciting. As John Wells told me, they want their show only a little bit better. They don't want exactly their show. They want their show.
Go a little further in
They
this.
want a little flavor, but they don't want a lot of flavor.
Okay.
They want, you know,
Right.
if they give you a
Right.
circle, they want you to come back with a circle,
Mhm.
but you can color it differently. You know, you can make it feel more
Play
3D.
within the rules a little
You
bit.
can play within the rules
Okay.
of it, but
Yeah.
you've got to deliver their show.
Right.
And a lot of people miss that point, and so they're doing it for themselves. So when I'm going to a show, I'm trying to figure out what show are they trying to make. I'm about to go to Brilliant Minds, so
Okay.
I'm now in the period of, you know, fact finding.
Right.
I watched all the episodes. I just sat down with the executive producer yesterday. We had dinner, and I now have a much better idea of what show they're making, which is not always immediately apparent by watching the show.
Sure.
And so once I get there to Toronto, I'll have Dwayne Davis, who's going to be my producer director, and also Zachary Quinto, who's like a genius. I'll learn more. But once I figure out really what show they're making, then I can exceed their expectations.
Okay.
But I can only exceed their expectations if I know what they're doing. I can't just start exceeding their expectations with shit that I did on Lost. I have to do whatever their show wants to be, and I have to bring it to this next level, which isn't like 3 levels above it. They want to just go 1 or 2 levels above. That's all. Because if you go 3 levels above, then it's Quentin Tarantino directing ER, which was a disaster. Everybody hated the episode. It was all Quentin Tarantino kinds of shots. It wasn't the show anymore. So you got to figure it out.
It looked good.
Yeah, it looked good, and it was, if you know Quentin Tarantino, it was very educational.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not the show. So I think part of my success as a director, and part of the reason why I come back, is because I'm always boring into the psyche of the writer, showrunner, whoever it is that's in charge. You know, whether it's Kurt Sutter or Aaron Sorkin or, you know, John Wells. They're all very different people with very different aesthetics. So you just have to figure out what they really want and then give them something a little better.
City of Angels. Let's talk about how that one came to you.
Great show.
Yeah. I had a little piece of it.
I become a little star on, oh yeah, that's right, you were the cop in the episode I wrote, which is something really exciting. I forgot about that. And I wish you could get it online, but I don't think City of Angels is online. But in episode 5, I think it
stopped.
was.
They used to last for a minute, and then it just stopped.
Wasn't that was the episode where Blair Underwood is pulled over? A story that's been told on television a gazillion times now.
Yes.
But we told it back in 2001, whenever it was. So Blair Underwood, who's a doctor, is pulled over by this cop, white cop, probably racist, but it's, you know, we're trying to walk that line there. And then Hilliard is his associate cop.
Which is the worst person.
Exactly, but you know, so he gets the reaction shots of like, what the fuck are you doing? And then, of course, they end up in the hospital. And then Blair has to decide to do surgery or not, and people say, this is the guy who screwed you, you should let him die! But of course, Blair Underwood is Blair Underwood.
Those are great stakes, though.
He's not going to let the guy die.
Right.
So, and you know, it was a show that came out of me having so much success in NYPD Blue. I've been on 2 or 3 seasons, I've won 2 Emmys, and David Milch was sort of my mentor for writing. He was reading all the things I was writing, and he was giving me pointers, and I hoped that I'd be able to write in NYPD Blue, but that's very difficult to do, because David essentially wrote every single episode.
The other guy came in.
Except for David Mills, who wrote
okay.
1 episode. And I think people later on obviously wrote episodes. But at that time, David Milch was doing everything, and David Milch was so brilliant, it was kind of okay. So Stephen Bochco had an idea to do a black medical drama set in LA, and he asked me and Nicholas Wooten if we would join him in creating the show. So if like Stephen Bochco is a mega producer this time, this would be like Greg Berlanti asked you to do something, you're going to do it.
Yes.
You're going to say yes, and to create a show with him and learn what he knows. It would be a great opportunity. So we did. We created the show together. We created the characters. We cast it, and what a cast we had! Not just Blair Underwood, but we had nurses Octavia Spencer, we had nurse Viola Davis, we had nurse Maya Rudolph. It's like so many people. Hill Harper, that came through. T.E. Russell. That's it. We had a lot of Bobby Morris. Robert Morris was sort of the patrician of the hospital, so it was like pre-med, and it was like a big role for him. So we had a terrific cast of talented black people. It lasted for 2 seasons, which I think is something. I mean, I created a show on CBS with all black people that lasted for 2 seasons. Now, has there been a show on network television with a black cast drama since?
Well, I guess some people would say that what's the Taraji? Is that a like
Empire?
Empire? Would that be? That's network.
I think that would be. Because I think there were some more people, but there were very few. So I think
Very
that's
few.
probably the only other time.
Yeah, I would say all the people on
Yeah.
the top of the call sheet were definitely black.
It's really
sure.
hard to do. They
Yeah.
don't want to do it.
No.
They don't think people will watch
Right.
us. They
Right.
really don't.
Right.
And I think that worked because it had music, and it had Lee Daniels style, and even then it didn't become huge.
Sure.
But it became for us
Yeah.
a big show. But they said that's too limited an audience. I don't know. It's very difficult to do. So I'm proud to have done it, and I'm proud to have actually brought those actors together
Right.
at that time.
Right. Let's talk about. Now you've been the PD, producer and director for the people who don't know out there. What was it like going from being the episodic director to being the PD, and what are the expectations? What's your job?
You know, I just realized that I had very few episodes of directing when I became a producer
Oh,
director.
really? That's
Yeah, because I became a producer director on NYPD Blue.
Oh, was that early?
Yeah, I became a supervising producer, then
Okay.
co-executive producer on that show. And so they sort of started merging. Before I actually had a lot of individual episodes, I had already started producing
Right.
and directing shows. So what I do love about producing is that you can nourish people, you can bring some new people in, you can start to, make some stars.
Right.
That's what I always loved about it. Like if you can bring someone new who's talented and give them enough direction and focus that they can kind of blossom, that's a good thing, And I was particularly keen at that time on women directors because I thought, and minority directors, but I thought they really need a little bit of a push in this male-driven world. But at the same time, it's a lot of responsibility. So I actually like I just did The Night Agent. I kind of enjoyed that, where I just go and I just direct a couple episodes and then I leave. That's kind of, I don't have to worry about everything. I mean, occasionally I'll hear something about the budget, but I don't have to think about it all the time. It's just, I like that responsibility. On Dr. Odyssey, when I was the producer director and the principal director, was very difficult. Because we did bring in that show under budget, despite what people have said. But I directed 6 of the 18 episodes, and also had to oversee all the directors and all the others, which became very complicated. It's
And
a
you
lot.
guys were. Now, did you guys shoot that in the studio, or were you
We
guys
shot the
out
interiors
location?
on Paramount,
Okay.
and then the actual leisure deck was shot up in Santa Clarita.
Oh, okay.
So that we actually built it in a parking lot
That's
there
right.
because we just had more blue sky
Right.
around it. But most of it was shot at Paramount, on the Glee stages, on the same
Okay.
stages where we shot Glee,
I like that. Now, when a director comes and they want to be on your show,
Good luck.
what are the type of questions you're
Oh, that is a good question. I don't want to reveal them all.
And you gotta keep them all.
But I talked with Pete Chapman about
Right.
this. I have a whole list of kinds of questions I interview, but
Are you testing them?
I'm definitely testing
Okay.
them.
Okay.
I'm testing them for the qualities that I think make a good director. Not so much for the experience,
Okay.
but for the qualities.
Yeah.
And the qualities I think make a good director are humility, simplicity, authenticity, and gratitude.
Mm.
So I'm asking questions
You write
that
that
get to
down?
those things. Especially humility. I want a director who will acknowledge what they don't know, acknowledge their failures. If I say, what's the worst experience you've ever had in a show? You say, well, I can't think of anything.
Mm.
There's always
There's
a
no
worst
way.
experience.
There's no way.
So you're not being honest with me. So
Right.
that ticks authenticity and
That's right.
humility because you want me to think everything that you've done, was your shit didn't stink.
Mhm.
But that I don't believe that, and that's not true. So those kinds of questions get to both. I also am looking for something that expresses that they're grateful. Because an ungrateful director is very unpleasant.
That's important. I'm taking that.
So
That's
I tell
important.
directors when they come in for an interview, the first thing you should say, it's the first thing I say, thank you for giving me this opportunity
Right.
to be with you. This really matters to me, and here are the reasons. Before they start rattling off the questions, you should express that you're grateful.
Right.
Because if you're not grateful, you're just going to be a pain in my ass, I think. So I'm always looking for that. Authenticity is the other thing. If you're really just real, I'm interested.
Mm.
If you're like, Jeff Bird is always a good interview
Yeah,
because he's always just who he is.
Right,
And
right.
but if I feel like you're covering or trying to be something else, I sense that, and I just, you don't think who you are is good enough?
Right.
Be who you are. If you're gay, if you're non-binary, if you came from El Salvador. I do want to know personally why you care and why you want to be a filmmaker. And that comes out in your authentic voice. And if it doesn't come out in your authentic voice, I'm not going to play well with you.
Do you believe, I figured out this. So, it might have been Tim McNeil or somebody like that.
Love Tim McNeil. Shout out to Tim McNeil.
Yeah, shout out to Tim. So years ago, I had a meeting with Tim, and we were having a great conversation. Out the blue, he says, "Tell me about your father." I was like, "Oh, he's trying to throw
That's
me."
good.
And I went, "Oh, that's easy." I said, "My dad at the time, before the Cosby shit was bad, I said my dad is kind of like Bill Cosby, just the sweetest, the TV version of just sweet, fun, like all that stuff. Never seen him curse, never seen him drink anything in my life." I said, my dad is the type of guy who, if my car broke down here in Burbank, he would drive from the Bay, when they live in Phoenix now, when they lived in the Bay, he'd drive from the Bay, start my car, and drive home. He was like, really? I was like, that's how we all are. We are all just like that. We go out of our way to help, because of him. And I said, now my mom, she's full of rotten.
Yeah, it was the reverse for me. My mom was the one that you can count on. You met my mother. She's the one who will, come to my 10th anniversary party and just completely riddle me literally with verbal bullets. But my father was not a very useful person. I mean, my father, I had not a difficult time with him, but he wasn't, into the whole idea of being a father. And left when I was in college, and went off with this other woman. And Will and I actually, towards the end of his life, went back to visit him and saw him, and he was pretty sick.
Right.
And I felt bad, and I felt that he missed so much, but at the same time, I did feel that there were times that he was there for me that I could hang on to.
Okay.
There were times in high school that he would drive for hours to come to a football game.
Okay.
Even after having an accident in the factory where he worked, he would still get there to be at that game. So I
That's
had
important.
moments on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I had moments, but for the most part, not there. And it's part of the reason why I've tried to do better. I mean, I've tried to be there for my children. Will and I went out to lunch yesterday. He insisted we go to udon. What did we do? No.
It was pho.
Pho.
Oh, you
Pho.
like that stuff. Huh?
Yeah, it was
It was
Vietnamese.
really
We had Vietnamese. It was an experience.
Okay.
Actually, I liked everything I ate.
Yeah.
But it was just a time for us because he's going to go back to school soon. I'm going to go to Toronto to work just to spend some time together. My
That's
father
smart.
would
That's
never
smart.
do anything like that.
Yeah, my father didn't either. But an interesting thing happened. He was like one of those military guys, very manly man, but still just sweet. He just had that great spirit. He's the type of guy who could take this empty lot and build a house by himself. Like, he's that guy. He could build a car like he's that guy. And but he was always gone. He was always, because he had 5 kids, mom and dad. Like, I was the only kid in my neighborhood. This is something interesting. I was the only kid in my neighborhood who I knew in Menlo Park, in East Palo Alto, who had his mother and father at my age. I didn't know anybody.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody.
But he was gone, you said.
He was just like working all the time. Like, he was always, and he's the guy, like, he could have been like a multimillionaire because of the things he knew, but he's always like, I'll help you build that house. Just give me $200. Like, he was that guy. Like, he just wanted to help.
He was undervalued.
Yeah, totally undervalued.
Contributions,
And I think they're still alive. Like, my dad was born May 5th, 1940. My mom is May 6th, 1941. They just had their 66 in February.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
they're 10 years younger
Yeah.
than my parents. My mother's still alive. My father's passed.
Right.
So
Your mom is full of spunk.
she's full of spunk. But part of what she does or what she did is the reason why I do what I do. Because some people say, how would you describe your role as a director? And I said, I do what my mother does. I'm a social worker. It really is partly this creative, visionary job, but a lot of it is social interaction. And how can you get these people in a place where they can do their best? So it's really the host of a party more than it is the controlling supervisor of a vision. I think I can imagine a shot, I can imagine an episode, and I can go and do it, and it'll be good. But if I let other people contribute, if I just sort of lay out a little bit of a skeleton and then bring in other voices, even if it's the prop guy, script supervisor, whatever, it's going to be better. People are going to elevate it. So I'm the person who says, let's all play. Let's all contribute. Everybody gets to say, whether or not this is safe or not, especially when it comes to safety. I said everybody can say cut if there's something unsafe in the set. But when it comes to creative ideas, I always say, I'll take the idea from you and I'll take credit for it in a heartbeat. I say it in a slightly nicer way.
You know what I always say? I'm glad I thought of that.
Yeah, I'm glad I thought I'm gonna use that. That's an even better way of saying, I'm glad I thought of that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But that way also people leave feeling like they're valued. People feel, I think what's missing in the world today, if I can get like on my soapbox for a hot minute, is we're all feeling under so much, there's so much to despair about. There's so much to lose hope on. The world seems to be spiraling out of control. I'm not even going to say the T word, but that has a lot to do with it. And because of it, you just can't help but think there's nothing I can do to actually affect change. It's all so big. It's all so massively, the environment's being shut down and immigrants and everything is just so huge. And I would say, well, what you can do is in the people that you touch and where you work and in your world, your family and beyond, you can actually be a positive voice.
Sure.
You can actually be encouraging. You can actually be inclusive.
Sure.
You can actually show you care. You can actually wear your heart on the sleeve and let people know you're vulnerable and let them know that you're hurting when you're hurting. You can do that and show people that that's okay. And that helps. And you may not feel it's big enough, but what is big enough? You're just touching the people that you work with right now.
Let me ask you something. I know you can relate to this. As somebody who spent so much time dedicating themselves to the DGA, I spent a lot of my time the last 15 years dedicating myself to the
you made a major commitment.
And so for a decade, I was the co-chair on the Black Committee, the LGBT Committee, which was the gay committee before that, the Education Committee with Jeff Melvoin, and I was his co-chair. And then I'm also on the Latinx Committee, the Genre Committee. You know what I mean? Like, I was there.
How do you have time to do all this?
Exactly. And what happened was, and doing my podcast, and I have like 7 kids that I mentor, like I'm constantly back to my dad, right? So what I realized is last year, so the term was coming up. Now, most people, because of the rules of the guild, you can only be a co-chair for so long. But they were like, if you wanted to do it,
we can make an exception.
We can kind of slide in some stuff, right? Because everybody loves me, I do what I do. And I thought about it really, really carefully, and what I realized is this. So I was telling you earlier, on my show, I've been doing my show for 11 years now. 500, this will be episode 528. Dropping tomorrow, by the way.
Wow.
And what I realized was this. I usually have like 4 or 5, 6 writers watching filmmakers. Over those years, I counted 13 or 14 writers who are now co-EPs or producer level writers or directing stuff on TV who sat watching us, who are surpassing doing what I'm doing because I'm helping. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I turned down they wanted me to go on the board. I'm like, nope, not doing any of that. I got to focus on me. So for the last, 7 months since June, whatever it is, I've been just on me.
You haven't doing any Writers Guild committees? No. Really? Wow, that's a big change.
It's huge. So well, since last year, June. That's all right.
Yeah.
I've been off. I've been just trying to do my own thing, trying to focus. You know what I mean? And it's been helpful. I'm just curious for you, because at some point you were like, okay, what about me? At some point, I'm assuming because you were there a lot, working on.
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to that point yet. I expected I will, and I sometimes joke that I'm at that point. But I'm the secretary treasurer now, and sort of part of the kitchen cabinet with the president. We deal with the big issues, and I just feel like it's the best way I can give back to a union that really helped me when I was starting out. I had a lot of creative rights issues. I had a lot of struggles. The guild stepped in and was there for me. They've just given me a livelihood. They've given me this house. I mean, because of just their rigorous attention to what directors need. So I figure, when I first came in, it was like I'd go into the room at the Western Directors Council, and Robert Wise would be there, and John Frankenheimer.
Wow.
And just like, and I think these people don't need a guild. Robert
Right.
Wise had already been president. I mean, why are they here? And you're here for the next person. You're here just like for the people that you mentor. You're here to make sure that it stays strong and
Sure.
continues the tradition, and that people feel like, you know, they have something that backs them up in their job.
Christopher and I, your husband, we go back to San Francisco.
Yes.
So
That's how you became an uncle.
yeah, so we used to, you know, go to clubs and stuff. I was one of the main dancers in the city. And we would later on go, him, me, his roommate Jay, we'd sit and eat, right? I forget where we go to all kind of places. But we'd eat 2, 3 o'clock in the morning after the club, right? I have never in my life seen this scene that you guys did. So, I'm gonna set this up for y'all. They're in the club. Forgive me, I don't know everybody's name. The
Or
main
the
character.
club. You mean they're in the
The
club.
main character meets, what'd you call it?
They're in the
Is
club.
that what I said? Maybe that. You know I'm from the game, you know how we talk.
Main character, you mean Dahmer?
No,
Tony.
Tony, okay. Tony and his friends,
Mm-hmm.
he's in the club with his friends. He meets a guy. The guy realizes what's the proper way of
He's
saying
deaf.
that? Oh, you can't say that,
You can
okay.
say he's deaf, yeah.
He realizes he's deaf, he gets dismissed, he's hurt. Later, we fast forward, We fast forward, they leave the club, they're back there they go to a restaurant. Him and his friends are sitting there. This is parents. This has to be you. I'm sorry. I believe it's you. I don't care what people do in post.
Okay.
I'm saying parents there. Now, shut up. So, they're at the club, they're at the bar, sorry, I keep jumping.
The pizza place.
They're at the pizza place.
Yeah.
After the club, it's late at night, and they do what me and Christopher and all of our friends do after the club. They talk shit about who was at the club, what was going on, who did you see how cute he was, oh that bitch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. Don't make me cry. In silence, bitch.
Yeah, in silence, because they're deaf.
With sign language, I was like, I was bawling watching this scene.
I love that scene. And then I didn't do anything but place the
never
camera.
seen
That's
this
really,
scene
that was
before.
written to be that way. It was written
Really?
to have this no sound in it. Because David and Ian had written in several places that the sound should drop out.
Okay.
That was one of the places where it was written that way. What I did, my only real contribution to it, other than coaching the actors, was where I put the camera, which is somewhat subtle,
Yeah.
but I'm always at the height of the table, as if you had pulled up a chair.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
there's very few wide shots,
Right.
but you're always at the
You're in it.
table.
Yeah.
You're looking at them as
Right.
if you had turned to look at them, or you're one person looking at two people.
Gotcha.
So I always tried to I tried to put the viewer at the table
Mhm.
with them so they could experience this. And that was kind of new for me too, because I didn't know that much about deaf black culture,
Right.
which is a subculture
Yes.
of deaf culture.
Yes.
You know, deaf black gay culture, I
Right.
should say. And it was so great to just see them shooting the shit and just
Mhm.
see how they, in their facial expressions, because it's not just sign language.
Right.
Sign language is also your face.
There's
It's
some, there's
also
some verbal.
the
a
way,
little bit
yeah,
too,
the way
yeah.
you emphasize
Right.
things, and I learned so much about it. And those guys who I still stay in contact with,
Right.
I talked to Tony just a few months ago, actually, to Rodney rather. They're like so inspirational to me. And it was one night. I mean, we hadn't spent
Yeah.
forever doing that. I think it was like half a day just to do that scene.
I
And
literally
they were
called
like,
them and going, he gonna be nominated. You know that, right? This is the one.
I'm glad you talked about
This
that
is the one.
scene. I thought you were going to talk about the end
Oh, no,
scene
no,
when he
I mean,
actually eats Tony.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing. I thought,
You've seen this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about this. I thought he was gonna be the one person he couldn't, because I felt like he actually loved Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the tragedy of that
You know
episode,
what I
because
mean?
you really believe that Tony is going to escape.
Yes.
And you love Tony.
Yes.
And Tony had all these dreams, and he wanted to be a
Right.
model, and he
Ah.
came to the city, and he took these jobs. So immediately he's written for for your art to go out.
Right.
You know, he's rejected because he's deaf, and yet he still perseveres. How do you not love this kid?
Right.
And the tragedy of Dahmer is, in the end, his psychosis was so great that he couldn't overwhelm it.
Mhm.
His ability to reason could not overwhelm his sick brain.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Made for a really cool episode, though.
It was beautiful. I know you gotta go in a few.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
We have 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about, are you the type of director when you're the PD that needs to see your director's shot lists and stuff? Are
You know, I am. I
Just
am the
curious.
pain in the ass producer
Really?
director. And some directors are really like, what, shot list? I said, yes. I would like to see your shot list, and I want you to send it to me before you do it. I hardly ever say anything about it,
Okay.
but I think it's presumptuous. I've done a shot list for every day I've shot in my life, in all my episodes. I've always done a shot list. I've always shared it with the DP, shared it with my AD. So that's where I come from. I come from that level of preparation. And I believe, depending on how complicated the show, like in treatment, it was less important, oddly enough, because I just needed to know your shooting plan. But on something like Dr. Odyssey, there's so much going on. There's all these props. There's all these different costumes with the guests and so many different moving parts. I think the director has to be prepared to share information. And directors who don't, they're not going to tell you what they do until they get there. I'm going to look at the rehearsal, and then I'm going to say, you go over here. I don't trust them. I just don't think that's, I don't trust that process.
Yeah.
And generally, I don't want to hire that director. I don't think anyone's really that good. I mean, maybe Spielberg is. That's the way Spielberg works. He comes in, he doesn't really have a shot list.
Really?
They dress the whole, like on Munich, they dress the entire block.
Okay.
And
It's
then
all
he
lit,
shows
so
up,
you
it's
can
all
move
ready to
wherever you
go, and
want.
he comes in
Right.
and looks at it. But he's Steven Spielberg, and you're not.
Yeah.
So I like to see people's work.
That's a good one. What'd you think?
I think, yeah, shot list.
You would do a shot list when
Yeah.
you're doing a movie. Come on.
Especially even for like photography
Okay.
too. For photography as well, I
Mhm.
create like, I guess, inspirations for what I want to see in the camera.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I think you gotta have a blueprint. You have to, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I was gonna say, because he did last year or something, he did a photo shoot of me, and I said, well, you should just do me, just to have it done. And he had several setups ready to go that he was gonna move me through, and
Those are
he
your new
did.
headshots you use.
Yeah,
right?
we've got
Beautiful.
my new IMDb page,
Yes,
look at my
indeed.
IMDb
Yes,
page,
indeed.
that's a shot by Will. And you could see, oh, okay, so he's got me out here, some indoors, some in the studio, some lit,
Right.
naturally, some lit, and so I thought that's the way I am. You gotta be prepared.
Yeah. You're doing some great stuff. Let's talk about, we talked about you working with writers and producers. Is there any kind of etiquette that you think that?
You're talking about with showrunners, with the actual the writer of the show?
Yes.
Yes, I have a lot of etiquette. I don't even have time enough to
Just give me
explain
a couple of big
the
things.
list of etiquette. I don't presume. This is where humility comes in again.
Yeah.
I know that by the time I've gotten the script, in most cases, it's been through a lot.
Yeah.
It's been through breaking in the room and the writing in the first draft
you've
that
been
maybe didn't work. Yeah, and it's
Right.
now being revised, and the studio has a network, and they give you that note, and you don't like it, so you try to do this. There's such a story behind the script. I don't presume to know all the ins and outs, so I only ask questions. I don't say you should do this. I just say why is, and I ask really just to sort of burrow into why something is the way it is. And sometimes I'll go as far as to say, what if this happened instead of that? But rarely.
You do that during your tone meeting? Or
Yeah, I do that even before that. I usually on my shows I'll have a story meeting,
Right.
day 1 or day 2,
Okay.
where we will sit down with the writer and just talk about the story.
Right.
And talk about the things that production's gonna find particularly challenging about the story, to get that out of the way. And I think a lot of people come with their notes too aggressive, and they insult people because they're not thinking about, writers work a long time. Writers, that is hard work. It can't be just torn apart by you. You read it last night for the first time, and now you know how to fix
Right.
it. Maybe not.
Indeed.
Maybe you don't understand, and maybe you don't understand what they're building towards later on in the season. That's a reason why this is there. So I think you have to presume and present yourself with the maximum humility
Right.
when giving a note, and try not to do it in email.
Mm.
Everything gets misconstrued in
Yeah.
email. If someone
Tone, 'cause of the
says,
tone.
if
Yeah.
a showrunner says, hey, just email me your notes, it's really hard to write them so they don't sound unkind. And some people, writers are more sensitive than others, but
Yes.
they will read the most tone into something you never had, you never intended
Right.
that edge, but sometimes when they read it, they just add the edge just by the way it's laid out. So if you can, do it verbally, but if you have to write it, you gotta be very judicious.
Let me ask you a quick question, Will. Are you writing also?
I'm
just
trying to
focused
learn.
on directing and stuff.
Well, long goal, I guess my long goal is to become a cinematographer / DP.
I like it.
But I'm also learning how to write. I'm reading this book called Kill the Dog.
Mm.
It's a great book on writing. It like tells you the do's and don'ts and stuff like that.
Is that by Paul Guillot?
Yeah.
It's my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
He's been on my show like 6 times.
I don't think I've ever read that.
It just came out like a year or two ago. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a relatively
yeah.
new book.
He's
It's really great.
he comes from like Leverage and shows like that. He's a EP on that stuff like that.
And I think it's really smart of Will to want to be a cinematographer because A, it's a great job.
Completely.
It's very creative.
Right.
You get to supervise, you're really the king of the set
Mhm.
at that time, and yet you don't get as much of the blame unless things are ugly. But let's assume you can light. But if you can light, then it's not really, you didn't really fuck up the show. So you can live for a really long time
Right.
as a cinematographer and also really make beautiful stuff. I mean, I think it's a great job. I don't have the skill to do it,
Yeah.
but he does, so
Yeah,
I encourage it. I just don't have it.
I'm really good at, like, I work in the indie world a lot. So when I do, I work like I'm the showrunner, even if it's a film. Like the film we just finished, Mermaid, like I ran the show, even though it was a movie. And I'm at Video Village all day, but I only chime in when it's necessary.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But I also think I have a really good eye for things, but it's usually like when I see something's flat, I'm just like, they're really gonna shoot this flat like this? And then I'm like, so come on, but let's just take a look at this monitor right quick. And I'd be like, what do you think? Oh, it looks amazing. Let's look at it again.
Yeah.
What do you see? I want you to see it. You know what I mean? And then they'll finally go, and I'll go, okay, so here's what I see. If you just turn now you see all the way down the hallway. See the little lights glistening, whatever? Much more production value. Like, oh, yeah, right. And then what happens is this. It's just funny. For 30-foot project, this is what happens. Somebody will go, and they'll turn to me like, okay, like, am I good?
Are you good?
I swear to God, that's what happened.
No,
And I'm sure that's happened to you.
I mean, I always look to the writer before I leave the set, before I leave the location. I go, how's that? Are we okay? We have everything we need? And I tell them at the beginning, I really need you to answer that question honestly. If you think there's something lacking in the performance, then let's not go. Let's go and address it. Don't just feel like, oh, the pressure of time, and he's really just asking that pro forma. I said, no, I'm really asking. That is a real question. Do we have everything that we need, that you're going to need to put into the mix for the showrunner in the end to cut this episode? So,
especially while it's hot.
yes, while it's hot, before we move on. Exactly. And I have had a couple people, we've now moved on, we're now doing another thing, saying, I did think about that. Now it's too late. I don't say bitch, but I have.
Can't we go back to the lake? It's easy, right?
No, you missed it, baby. It's over. We are now gone. It's sad.
So before I let you go, we got to talk about your new film, the documentary.
Oh yes, my newest film.
Let's tell the kids a little bit about it.
Let's tell the kids a little bit about it. I love that. He's talking about Billy Preston,
Yes,
That's the Way God Planned It, which is a documentary
I love the title, too.
chronicling Billy Preston's rise and eventual fall, and then rise again. It's all about how this black man, in his time period, reached such great heights and worked with the greatest artists, the Beatles, and Barbra Streisand, Elton John, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was always there as this amazing keyboardist, amazing accompanist. 40 years or 30 years, I think he was Aretha Franklin's accompanist. He's the one who played Young, Gifted, and Black. That's it. That's Billy Preston. But that's also Billy Preston who had ththose hit records, We'll Go Around in Circles, and, the jams of our time back in the day. So when I was asked to do this by Stephanie Elaine, I said, I don't really know that much about Billy Preston. I mean, I used to have the records, but let me dive into it. And then I found all these parallels, with me, except that he was 10 years older, and I was just a little bit beyond. So as I started digging into the story, I really connected with him personally. And so it tells a pretty detailed story of his life, but then beyond that, we say why he was so great. We show you why. I have Corey Henry coming in to sort of explain from a musical perspective what makes Billy unique. Billy Porter comes in to really talk about how his Christian background in many ways became a major obstacle for him. So we try to show all sides of him. And so we're gonna open theatrically. Actually, you probably don't know this, you know?
No.
Yeah, it's gonna open theatrically in February.
Yeah.
So it'll be at theaters in
Like
LA
history
and
month,
New
yeah.
York. Yeah, oh, I hadn't even thought about that. But yes, it'll open in February,
Yes, sir.
and that's, so we're gonna hold it back. I don't think we're doing any more screens of it until it opens in February.
I have a little, I don't know if you guys covered this when you were filming at all, but there's a little.
You haven't seen the film yet?
See,
We've
they don't know
done
about it,
screens, we invite you.
So the in my Sylvester script, as you know, there's a moment where Sylvester opens for Billy, and is going crazy, doing his crazy shit that he does, and Billy's like, oh no, he's not opening for me. He does like one show. He's like, bye, bitch.
That's it? No, that's not in that movie. We do get into his relationship with Little Richard, because Little Richard actually took him when he was just an organist at 16 and took him on a European tour. So a European tour with Little Richard, okay, a little cray-cray, but that's how he met the Beatles.
Right.
You know, that's
That is,
that is
yes,
how he met the Beatles in
Okay.
Hamburg.
Right.
But Little Richard was, you know, the act. The Beatles were opening for Little Richard. You know, they were a much smaller group, and
Right.
Little Richard was a huge star. And Billy was playing the keyboards, and the Beatles would say, "Who's that at the keyboards? He's so amazing." At the same time, Billy Preston would get them food, the Beatles, because he was the headliner and he could get free food. So he would get the Beatles
I
food
love it.
and, you know, steaks or whatever they wanted there,
Right.
because he had that. And they remembered him. That's like in 62, 63. And then comes, you know, 69, and Billy's in, you know, England and walks into Abbey Road as they're trying to put together their last album. All the stuff you saw in Peter Jackson's documentary where it's just not working. And then Billy comes in and things start to flow, and suddenly he's there through, you know, the next two Beatles albums, you know, as the glue that keeps the group together. I don't think
He was
got paid
behind
for
a
it.
lot of the big songs too. He wasn't.
Yeah, most of the songs you remember from that time, Get Back, you
Right.
know, The Long and Winding Road, you know, Let It Be.
Wow.
There's a lot of Billy in all those songs.
All those chords. All those,
Yeah, all those chords, and that's where Corey Henry
Okay.
breaks down really how his church, Billy's church, brought that to the Beatles
Right.
and gave them this additional soul. And Paul McCartney in the film makes a little joke about it, that it's just like impossible for him from Northern England to have what Billy has, and it's true. What Billy brought them was this soul sound that helped to glue,
Right.
because they were basically ripping off black music anyway. The Beatles were going
All of
that
them.
way. I keep
All of them.
All coming back to old
But they
rock.
admit it. That's the
They admit
difference.
it,
Yes.
and inspired by Little
Right.
Richard and all that
Right.
stuff. And so Billy brought back this sort of, you know, like soul glue to the Beatles' contemporary songs that they responded to.
That helped them set up for their big album.
So
Right.
he's so pleasant and
Is
so
he?
fun, because he was usually high.
Okay.
But they enjoyed being around him so much. Yeah, they pretty much all were. That he made it a much, you know, less tense atmosphere.
That's right. That's right.
That's all in the movie.
Right. What is next for Paris Barclay?
What is next?
That you
Well,
can tell us.
that I can tell you, I'm developing. In the writing, with my writing hand, I'm developing 4 projects.
Okay.
The
I know you
short,
were doing something with Tracy. I know that didn't.
yeah, the short, yeah, that's still now that's
Oh, is
coming
it?
back to life
Okay,
thanks to
good.
Tim McNeil.
Yes.
But
Shout out to
mainly,
Tracy
I'm
Jones.
working on Dear America, The Letters from Nam musical
I can't wait.
drama.
Yeah.
I am in development with a show called Guess Again, which is a behind the scenes of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Ooh.
How the movie was made from the perspective of each of the principals
Love
who
it.
made it. So
Nice.
that's really interesting. It's a really
Okay.
deep story. I'm also developing a hour drama about kids who go to a school not unlike John Jay, a criminal justice school.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a, you know, college drama, but at the same time, what they're learning is all about forensic psychology
Okay.
and all the stuff that, you know, fuels the CSIs and all of that
Nice,
stuff.
nice.
And there's some murders too,
Nice.
because there's always
Yes, you
some
got it.
murders.
You got it.
And then the last show I'm really developing is about a marriage counselor. I wanted to do a comic version of In Treatment,
Ah.
because In Treatment was one of my favorite shows to do and ended up being
It's
done.
literally one of my favorite shows that I think should be brought back, as well as Cold Case.
Yeah, they brought it back with
Uzo,
Uzo, and it just
Yeah.
didn't work.
Yeah.
But I think it could work as a comedy. So I'm developing the show where a marriage counselor actually is sort of a comic figure with his constantly shifting married couples that he talks about.
Okay.
That's really designed to be kind of an international template for shows that can be done in any country.
I have a show called Troublesome that I spent off that show I was telling you about with the guys on the train. So it focuses on the therapist, because I love what you guys are doing with treatment. But mine is about how he takes clients and helps them deal with their superpowers that they have within themselves. So it's like one of those.
Oh, that's cool. Do they actually have
No. It's just whatever your inner power is, he helps you overcome it. But he does it unorthodox. He doesn't just sit with you.
So let's hope he doesn't do it in an orthodox way.
So that's dope, man.
So I got that. Now I'm just doing some directing around and just making sure William is taken care of because he's a priority.
He's doing
and his
some
brother
stuff.
Cyrus,
Yes, he did.
who's on the computer right now and can't be with us.
Shout out to Christopher, by the way, my man.
Will, did you have any questions that you
Yeah.
wanted to ask?
Just
before
jump
we
in.
They
leave?
were all answered.
Yeah.
They were actually all answered.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What's next for you? I know you're in school. How are you doing in school?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Almost failed my math class though.
Yeah, as I did in college also, as I told him.
Yeah.
He got a higher grade than I got. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, just, but you passed, so that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. More photography,
Okay.
trying to get into more filmmaking, trying to focus into that. I have this project. I want to do the TV show Atlanta?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a Atlanta inspired short film,
Good.
but based in LA
Okay.
instead of Atlanta. And I have another idea as well.
Love it.
But,
Yeah.
So I've been.
Well, let's talk. Let's produce the thing. Let's go.
Keep cooking.
I love it. That's what's up. Awesome. Where can people follow you, Paris?
People can follow me on the Instagram at PKC Barclay. People can follow me on the Threads at the same address.
Yes, it is.
I didn't delete my X, so it's still there,
Yeah, I saw
but the
that.
only thing I do is put food on there occasionally.
Oh, we didn't talk about food, but I know we got.
Yeah, it's not really, Instagram is really the thing I use the most.
Yeah. Well, just a sidebar, Paris can cook his little butt off.
Yes, I do. Well, I was a chef.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was a chef, so that gave me the basics.
Right.
So, although I don't think I'm cooking tonight, I think we're having meatballs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything tonight. This is good.
But it's okay.
I'm tired. These interviews make me so tired.
Well, where can people follow you and follow your photography and all that stuff? Sell it.
On Instagram, wmb.photography.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I like it. Super proud of you, man.
Thank
Keep
you
doing
so
things.
much. Thank you for having me on as
Hey.
the co-host.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing the camera and the BTS and on the ones and twos for us. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I love you, buddy.
Anytime.
He's a genius.
You know he's gonna be it. He's gonna be the next one. He's gonna be the next one.
He's got the right glasses. That's the main thing. He has to get the right glasses. It's very, very important. That's a good looking pair.
And I am your host, Hilliard. Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram. I still say Twitter like I'm cool. On Twitter, everything at Hilliard Guest, everywhere, Threads, everywhere at Hilliard Guest. We have a new Screenwriters Rant Room on Instagram as well. Please subscribe. Please go on screenwritersrantroom.com. We have a new web page built. We got resources page. We have just everything about me, everything I love, everything that I support, books, other podcasts, everything is on there. So please go in there and check it out. Lots of resources for filmmakers on there. Please give us a 5-star review. We need that for the metrics. It's super important. Helps us grow. Also, please get you guys we have our t-shirts, we have our hoodies. We have them in blue, we have them in gray, we have them in black, white. So please buy those shirts. That's how we pay for things, for the hoodies and stuff. Thank you guys. Thank you again, Paris. I love you, buddy.
You are very
I appreciate you,
I
man.
appreciate the
Thank you. Joining me, everybody, for Game All Day. You guys know how we do it on the show. We keep it real. We keep it opinionated. We keep it what, everybody? Game all day. Peace, y'all.
I'ma say what I feel, and I promise to keep it real. Welcome to the Rant Room. Boom, boom.